In this video, which is part 33 of the Coinmarketcap, we're going to focus on completing this box here. Right now we have this and the zoom box is able to move, but what we want to do as well now for the zoom box is as we move this, it will synchronize as well nicely with the chart. So let's start to look how we can do this. So what we need to do here is basically this part here. We have this all working in the previous video and we could move this, but as you can see, as I move this, what really happens is basically nothing on the chart. So this needs to be solved. So let's look at how we can do this. Let's scroll down here back to the part where we created that specific function. And then here, what we're going to do here first of all is we have this min and max here. So that can be already solved. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say here we can just look at this. I'm going to say let's see, what we want to do is we want to reassign this one on this here. So as we change, this should be changed as well. So we want to update chart1. I'm going to say equals the min chart. Secondly, what I want to do is I want to set this then max chart for max chart here, of course. Save this, refresh. So if I do this and now I move this here, that works. And then if I move here, you can see here it starts to work, but we have this issue. The reason of this issue is basically because of the differences here. We have this item and after looking at it, I noticed that this will counteract, because what it will do is it will keep on counting what is the difference between the starting point and the scrolling point. And that is fine for one part, but for the chart itself that is not possible. Or basically if I do this here, let me refresh, this becomes an issue because it will be well, it will count it on top, or cumulative, that's the right term. So what happens then is if this would be 4, if this movement is 4, the next one is 5, so it will, instead of only moving 1 to the left side, it will move 5, and then the next item would be moving 6 steps instead of another 1. So what we need to do is we need to convert and basically analyze, are we going to the left or the right with every new scroll movement, or basically every new drag movement. So that is where this point is becoming a problem. So what I want to do here, we're going to grab another value. So I'm going to show you this one, and this is a value that I discovered just recently. I thought, all right, that's probably the right one that we need. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to say here console log, and what I'm going to grab here is the drag delta. Save that, refresh, open up developer tab, and let's make this slightly smaller. Alright, I guess that's pretty hard to read. Then if I move this one like that and then move here, we get here the mouse event. In this mouse event, we have here basically one specific item that we need. Let's see if we can find that one here. It should be here somewhere. It should be left or right. Let me just quickly check. Alright, so I just quickly checked it. It is the movement, which makes sense. Movement X, movement Y. But in this case, we only want to track movement X because we want to go to the left or the right. So what I'm going to do here is say this dot movement X. Save, refresh. And now, let's put that like that. And then we're going to move this to the left. And you can see here now it gets a negative, which is correct. And then we're going to move this to the right, or let's move like that to the right. Does it work? No, doesn't register yet. But if I move this here, as you can see here, it does. And let's see which number is that, 107. And that's this one here, 0. And here it was 1. So it will recognize we have, are we moving to the left or the right? So this pattern recognition is important for us. Because now what we can do is we can say if we move to the left, -1 to go to the left. And if we move to the right, +1 to go to the right. That's basically what we're going to do here. So I'm going to copy this. And then what I'm going to say here for now is we have the difference here. I'll just maintain this one. But what I need as well is besides this difference, I need to check the following. So I'm going to say here, well, what we can do is I'm going to create another let value, and I say difference number 2. and this will be equal to 0 by default. And then after that, what we're going to do is, and we make sure you spell it correctly, we're going to create an if statement here. And this if statement will track if our difference will be minus or plus 1. Why 0? Because 0 would mean if we move, but we move so little, it doesn't have to go to the left or the right. So what I'm going to say here now is the following. I'm going to say here if the, let's see here, the drag delta movement x would be bigger than 0. In that case, I want to say difference will be equal, or difference number 2 will be equal to 1. And then another if statement, if drag delta, we can just copy this, put it in there, and then we say if it is smaller. Remember, it should be smaller or larger, no equal to, because 0 is no movement. So then say here, then we say minus 1 for moving to the left. So once we have this, what we could do here is we can start to calculate this, and we have here this difference. I guess this one temporary I can remove, and we have here a difference number, or just normal difference. So we're going to say here difference number 2. So it will control the deduction, more controlled with 1 at a time instead of multiples. So if I save this and let's double check this and let's move that, and then we go here, alright, and we go back, there we are. But of course you can see, let me just do this in full screen, right here and there, we have still one issue. This can be very desirable if you desire this, but for me in this case I'm going to use the same style as the Coinmarketcap chart. That would mean if we keep on going to the left, we should stop it. It's not allowed anymore to do any movement. So what I want to do here is basically the following: create an if statement. And this if statement would state if we hit the end here, or the starting point, this part could not move based on that. And I guess right now it's just a bit buggy, but you can see here, normally we're not allowed to move here, and the same here, we're not allowed to move, but it works so far. So let's start to do that part. So to do that, we have here the if undefined, and I guess this is for the max chart, and maybe we have another one here for the minimum chart. We should probably have one as well. Let's see. Yes, so what we need here is eventually we need to have here, let's do another one just to make sure. I'm going to put that in there, and if this is a min chart, this is also a min chart, in that case we'll say here array 0, date array index 0. So we have those two at least covered. But now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on a if statement, and this if statement will say if, and what we want to do of course is to grid lock it. Basically what I'm putting here, now I don't want to move it anymore, even though we should be able to move it, but I don't want to move it here. So this should not be working there. So what I want to say here is if, and what we're going to do here is the min chart1 equals strict dates index 0, which is basically just a starting point. If it hits a starting point, in that case what I want to do is I want to just grab this. I'm just going to copy these and update them. And what I will say here is for this, I'm going to say here, this will be equal to dates index 0, which is just a starting point, because we won't be moving it, so it will not grab any formulas. And the second one would be for the max value, would be whatever the max value is at that current moment. So that makes sense. So this is for the min value. So we hit here at the lowest point, and then the max value will be locked as well. So once we do this, let's comment this out. And probably what we could do here is another one. I'll just do it here. The other one, if the max chart 1 would be equal to dates, and the date should be dates dot length minus 1. So that's the last item in the array. In that case, what I want to say here, I'm going to copy this part, put that in here, and we say this will be then whatever the min value would be at that current moment. And the other item would be, we're going to grab this and put that in here, which is the max value. So if I change this, and now if I move, you can see here now it starts to lock it. It doesn't allow it. It does a tiny movement, and the reason for this tiny movement is within the 0 there's like a 6 pixel space per item, so that's why it allows this tiny movement. We can remove this, but I will leave it now as it is. However, if I move this here, then you go there, you can see now it doesn't work. Alright, so we have still one more item to solve, because you can see here this is blocking as well. So what I want to do here, finally, and I guess this, I have here the if, and this is not what I want, sorry, because it must be an if else. And the reason why is it must be one or the other, and not if this would be allowed or that one would be allowed as well. In that case it's blocked, and that's the reason why it's right now grid or stuck in there. So if I do this, we should be able to move this. Alright, interesting, it's not possible yet. Oh, of course, the reason why this is not possible yet, we didn't do that part as well. So let me just do another else if, and we're going to put that in there. So then we have another else if, and then all we're going to say here, if, and I'm going to say here probably the min chart, let me just grab this, if the min chart here, let's see if the item here is bigger or equal to dates. Oh, alright, so to dates, and this should not be min chart, my bad, this should be the scale itself. Alright, so then, and then we do another one. So if it would be bigger or equal to dates, and the other one is basically the same, but then I'm going to put that in there, and if the max value would be smaller or equal to, and then here we can say let's see here, to the dates here. Sorry, this is a real tricky one for me as well, so we're going to grab this one here. So if it's between the minimum and maximum of the array, alright, then what I'm going to say here, this min my chart will be equal whatever the min chart one is. So that's allowed, and of course basically this here, we can copy this one here. That's the max chart, as you can see. So now if I save this, let's cancel that, refresh, and let's move our chart here. There we are, go there. Now we're grid locked, as you can see, and now we go back, we're also grid locked. Beautiful. And if I move this here, let's see here, there we are. So there's still one thing here really that is still not working correctly, and that's a tricky one for me as well, is the speed movement here. Because if you look at the Coinmarketcap chart, the movement, if I go very fast to the end here, as you can see here, it should just jump along with it. And that is not working. So in the next video, we're going to explore that specific item.